everybody. I'm Evie Roberts, and this is my podcast, Talking in the Dark. Welcome. The aim of this podcast is to raise awareness about blindness, visual impairment, and disability in general, in a happy and light-hearted way. For those of you that don't know, I am blind. I was born with a condition called bilateral anophthalmia. Try spelling that one. It basically means that when I was born, my eyes didn't develop properly, so I wear prosthetics instead. The goal of this podcast is to remove some of the stigma and stereotypes around disabilities, whilst also having fun at the same time. Each week, I will be interviewing people from all walks of life, including some with hidden or physical disabilities like mine, and getting to know a little bit more about them and the lives they lead. This week, I am very excited to tell you that I will be talking to Jono Lancaster, who is a wonderfully talented motivational speaker and author. My name is Evie Roberts, and this is my podcast, Talking in the Dark. Welcome. Hi, Jono.
Hi, Evie. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm good.
Get you to it.
Oh, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Evie, I'm very, very well. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Oh, it's so nice to have you on the podcast. So how's your day going so far?
Been nice and slow. I've had a busy period. And so today was one of those days where I've just stayed home, done some home cooking, and just been alone with my thoughts.
Oh, that's nice. I think especially if you've had a really busy period, it's really nice to just have like a day or a couple of days to just wind down and sort of be alone.
Yeah, I'm quite shy and introverted. So when I'm around people, it actually takes a lot out of me. So then when I get home or when I have that time on my own, I'm like, deep breaths, okay, and relax. Yeah, so yeah, don't have to wear a smile all the time. Just relax. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's like that social battery, isn't it? You only have so much energy that you can use in like crowded situations or situations with other people, and then as soon as you get home, you're just like, right, I can actually breathe now. This is cool.
You are so right, Evie. And one of the things that I've learned about myself recently is my social battery will run empty, but I'm very patient and I'm very giving. So I will go like in the red with my social battery, and I will continue to give and give, and then eventually when I will get home, I'll just crash. So I'm trying to be mindful about my social battery a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely. I think it is something you have to keep in the back of your mind because I think I'm a lot like you. I will push myself almost to the limit to keep smiling and keep, being energetic. And then when I get home, I like you, I just crash and I'm like, I don't want to feel like this. So I think it's something you definitely have to be mindful of.
That's correct. And when you get home, is there anything that you do? How do you recharge that social battery?
I will tend to just go up to my room and I will like scroll through social media or listen to an audiobook or listen to music. But just being in my room on my bed, sort of taking time to myself.
Yeah. Music is definitely one of my things. I find social media still drains my social battery a little bit. So music is definitely a go-to for me.
Yeah, definitely. I think for me, definitely music or audiobooks are my little like safe place.
Yeah, being able to get lost in a book is quite special.
Yeah, I love being able to just because it's a bit like an escape, isn't it? Especially with like fiction books, going into like a different world almost.
I 100% agree, and I actually love getting lost in my thoughts and my imagination, and books have that beautiful ability to guide you into another world or into another story. And yeah, you just constantly, comfortably forget what's going on in your own world whilst you explore this new world that you're reading about. So yeah, it's pretty special.
Yeah, definitely. So would you mind telling me a bit about the condition that you were born with?
Yes. So I was born with a condition that is called Treacher Collins. So teacher with an R after the T, Treacher Collins. And there was no family history of Treacher Collins. I was a sporadic mutation. And the way that Treacher Collins has affected myself is so it only affects the face. I don't have any cheekbones. So my eyes appear on a slant. My ears haven't developed properly, so I call them my little Bart Simpson ears. I'm hard of hearing, so I wear a hearing aid. My jaw is a little receded, so for me that just means I snore really loudly. But for others, there's more severe um, repercussions of that, where they need help with their breathing through a tracheostomy, or they need help with their feeding through a feeding tube. So yeah, that's how Treacher Collins affects me.
Right, okay. So, what was your childhood like?
My childhood was, when I look back at it, it was fun. I grew up in a foster home with a lot of other children that had various other disabilities, and it was just organized chaos. There was my mum, my single mum, who raised us all, and it was just organized chaos, full of fun, fights, adventure, arguing over what chores we had to do, and fighting over the best puddings in the fridge. Early childhood was really good. I've always had a good set of friends, and then childhood in my teenage years that became a little bit different and a little bit more challenging as I really started to question, why did I have to be born with a visible difference? Why me? None of my friends look the way I do. So yeah, that's when it became difficult.
Right, yeah, totally. I think as well, when you're a teenager, I think you're naturally maybe a bit more aware of the things that are happening. I think when you're quite young, you're very innocent, very naive, and you don't really think about it. And I think when you get a little bit older is when you start to be a little bit more aware of what's going on.
Yeah, I agree, Evie. And I wrote about that in my book. I was so innocent as a child, and I can remember having conversations with my mum, and she tried to warn me about people may be unkind to me as I got older. And I didn't believe it. I was like, Mum, I'm ace. I'm cool. Everybody's going to love me. And yeah, I definitely wasn't prepared for what life had in store for me later on. And I've spent a good chunk of my adult life trying to find that self-love back that I had as a child. So yeah, teenage years are tough for every single one of us, for sure.
Definitely. So I know that you are a big advocate for self-love and acceptance, and that that's been a journey personally for you. Can you tell me about some of the ups and downs of that journey?
Oh, good question. So I believe self-love is, as a child, comes to us quite easy. I remember having conversations when I was a child that, I'm going to be a professional footballer, I'm going to be an astronaut, my paintings are the best, I'm going to be a rock star. And as a child, we all have these things of, I'm the best in class, or I'm the most fastest in class, I'm the most popular in class. We naturally have that self love. And I think life, trolls, bullies, um, the sadness and trauma that comes with life in any ways, I think we lose that. And sometimes we get lost in all that negativity, and we kind of lose that self love through all that negativity, and not by our own fault. So, yeah, in the past 10 years, I've been really working hard on finding things that I love about myself, and I make it an actual exercise where I sit down with my pen and paper and I will write down the things that I love about myself. And since I've been doing that, it's given me a newfound confidence and a new sense of freedom.
Right, okay. When you started doing that, did it come naturally to you, or was it quite difficult?
The self love didn't come naturally. It was very hard. I think in my book I spoke about it. I accidentally found self love, when I was 21, I was looking in the mirror and I saw my blue eyes. And I'd not seen my blue eyes in such a long time. And I was like, oh my God, I love how blue my eyes are. And I smiled. And then as I smiled, I realized I had one dimple when I smiled. And I was like, oh my God, that's so cool. And I'd accidentally found two things that I loved about myself. And then now, I go back to that moment and I smile. And now, as an adult, when I think about the things that I love about myself, I will go internally as well. I will think about how I love and how I'm kind and how I feel things. So that self-love has definitely developed, but it's not been easy. There are some days when I think, okay, what do I love about myself today? And I just don't have the emotional capacity to go there. Like I'm spent. So I'm like, nah, it's not happening today. And it doesn't mean that I don't love myself. It just means today's not one of those days where I might find new things that I love about myself. So, and self love is not just a self love list. Self love is also being kind to ourselves. Making sure that we have that slice of cake instead of saying no. Sometimes it's making sure we're all wrapped up nice and warm, well hydrated. Self love is about spending time with friends, but also time on our own. So yeah, self love comes in all different kinds of ways.
Yeah, definitely. So you set up the Love Me, Love My Face Foundation. Can you please tell me about that?
Yes. The Love Me, Love My Face Foundation is something that me and my friends set up, and we support children with visible differences all over the world. We support them medically, and one of my favorite things and the most powerful things that I believe we do is we connect families. So every year in the UK, we will hold an annual retreat where all the families get to connect with one another. So we will have all these individuals with visible differences. Being able to see somebody with a visible difference for the first time, I'm like, oh my God, they're like me. It's pretty special. But then you'll also have dads talking to other dads that are going through similar stuff. You'll have mums talking to mums and siblings talking to other siblings. And they're like, okay, I am not the only one that's going through this. And having that sense of I'm not alone is pretty special. And yeah, the Love Me, Love My Face Foundation is something that I'm incredibly proud of.
Yeah, you totally should be. And I completely agree with you. I think meeting other people who are going through the same things that you are and knowing that you're not alone can really help you if you're struggling.
Yeah. Do you have that in your life, Evie?
No, not really. I don't, because the Isle of Man's a very small island, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think our population's something like 85,000.
Right.
And there aren't, there are people with visual impairments, but not many who are blind. So one of my closest friends, she has a visual impairment and she does get it. But
Mhm.
I don't have anyone, I don't know anyone who's fully blind, and especially I don't know anyone with my condition because it only affects one in every 100,000 children.
Wow. Wow. Is that something that you would be open to? Is that something that you'd want to happen or you'd like to happen that maybe one day you could meet somebody else?
Yeah, it would be nice. I mean, there is, I know my mum's part of a Facebook group for people with my condition, but a lot of them are either adults now or younger
Mhm.
than me. And I can't think of anyone who has my condition and is the same age as me. And it could be very rare or that's just not a thing, but I would be very open to meeting someone who is like me.
I got to admit, there's those youngsters that are younger than you. If you had the opportunity to meet them, I think you would get a lot from that because you're a role model to them. And, I can tell from our conversation that you're so kind, you've got such a beautiful emotional intelligence, and they would look up to you and you'd be an inspiration to them. And then meeting somebody older than you, I think is another nice connection to have. It's an empowering connection to have because it's like, oh, they've done this before and they've achieved X, Y, Z. And that's always nice to see. And then when you meet somebody your own age going through similar stuff, it's like, oh, okay, they get it. So there's different elements of meeting somebody with the same condition as yourself for sure. And yeah, really, really hope, and if I can help in any way to try and find somebody that you can connect with that's around your age, I'd love to support in that way for sure. Yeah, I work with a lot of charities, so yeah, we will have more of these conversations, and we'll see if we can make that happen.
Oh, thank you so much. That's really kind of you. So, like you've already mentioned, you've also published a book, and you published it this year, and it's called Not All Heroes Wear Capes. And I'm currently listening to the audiobook version. I'm about three-quarters of the way through, and I just like to say you're a really good narrator.
Oh, thank you, thank you. No, no, thank you. That really means a lot to me. I really appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, I noticed it almost immediately. I think because I'm blind, one of the things I really go off of is voices. Like I recognize voices. It's almost like anyone with sight would recognize someone's face. And I really connect with like certain voices, and you just have this way of talking and the way in which you read that's really brilliant.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing that. I've got goosebumps all over my body. Thank you for sharing that with me. I recorded in London over the course of 2 days, and it was for starters, I can't actually believe that I wrote a book. You know, I still have to pinch myself like, I wrote a book. That's just a madness. Like if my English teacher could see me right now, his mind would just be blown. How have you wrote a book? And then I got to do the audio version, and it was almost like I got to relive parts of my life again. And I laughed with myself, I cried with myself, and I gave it everything. So a compl Evie, that's one of the best compliments I've ever had. So thank you so much for sharing that.
It's okay. Well, can you explain to my listeners a bit about this book?
So, Not All Heroes Wear Capes is a book about my life. And I hope people laugh with me and cry with me and just go on this journey with me. And yes, it's my life story. And I talk about it's literally an open book. I talk about everything. There's no secrets in there. And I didn't want the book just to be about my life story. I wanted the reader or the listener to have a lot of takeaways from the book. So there's various tasks that I get the reader to do throughout the book. And I talk about the heroes that I have met in my life, the heroes from my mum to a stranger that I happened to meet one day, and the impact that they had on my life. Not all heroes wear capes. And when I hated myself and I couldn't find any love for myself, there were people that just unexpectedly showed me love and kindness and ultimately helped me find self-love and ultimately helped me become the biggest hero in my own life right now. And I feel incredibly blessed to have reached that point. And I've had so many people reach out to me that are struggling and trying to find heroes in our world and within themselves. So yeah, it's something I'm incredibly proud of. And yeah, if anybody wants to give it a read or a listen, yeah, it's out there on my Instagram. Check it out. It's on Audible and well, Amazon and what have you. But if anybody reads it, please get in touch and share some self-loves with me as well.
Yeah, definitely. So, when did you kind of realize that you wanted to write a book?
16 years ago, I was in Egypt and I was reading a celebrity gossip magazine. And I came across an article called The Circle of Shame that the magazine had printed. And it was photographs of all these celebrities. And the magazine had circled around various body parts that the celebrities should be ashamed about. And it was, cellulite, it was wrinkles, it was baby bumps. And it just angered me that our bodies come in all different, our bodies have all these beautiful, unique stamps across them all, and they should be celebrated because they all have stories behind them. And I'd just been on this journey of trying to find acceptance and self-love, and these magazines and articles didn't make it easy for me at all. And I looked everywhere for hope, and I looked everywhere for somebody with a visible difference that, oh, they've got a smile. they're smiling, or they're living life. And I was like, that's what I needed when I was younger, and I couldn't find it anywhere. So I started talking and sharing my journey, and the more I shared, the more people said I felt like that too. And that was 15, 16 years ago, and it's just snowballed. And the more I loved myself and the more I've celebrated myself, the more things that I've attracted. And it's opened up doors that I never even imagined. And I've been able to travel the world to share my story and done various bits on social media and the TV and my book. And yeah, it's pretty special. It was never planned. But I started living and putting myself out there, and things started opening up.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's amazing. But like you were saying earlier about how obviously in that magazine they were pointing out things that people should be ashamed of about themselves. And I kind of think that like obviously although social media is a good place, I think that sometimes it can be quite toxic because people only share the best parts of themselves on social media. And I think sometimes it can make people feel a little bit worthless when they're looking at other people's pictures and they're like, well, why can't I be like that?
You're so right, Evie. And I really hope that other people listen to that, because there are so many social media people that have a voice and they don't realize how powerful that voice is. And they will share all this happy, perfect life stuff. And people, like you say, they compare themselves and they make their lives look so fancy, and it's very damaging. And one of the things that I believe when I do my social media is I have shared a lot of pain, a lot of sadness on my page as well. And people really connect with that and appreciate that. And yeah, I'm sure that's something that you'll do going forward. I can see yourself just being so open, raw, and honest with people who you connect with in whatever capacity you connect them with.
Yeah, I always try to be, and I want to continue to try and do that in the future because I think it's important to recognize that we're all human and we all have struggles. So there's no point just I mean, it's good to share, your highlights and when you're really happy, but you also need to, you also need to sort of face reality, I guess, and share that we're all human and we all go through hard times, and that's okay.
Yeah, right there with you, Evie. And I think one of the things that, as I don't know if it's a cultural thing of being British, that sometimes we can't admit or allow ourselves to open up about stuff. And like, good morning, how are you doing? And then the automatic response is, oh yeah, I'm good. How are you? And I think if people stopped themselves and just answered that question honestly, how are you doing? They're like, oh, I'm actually feeling a little bit like this today. I think, yeah, that'll be powerful stuff. So, yeah, if anybody's listening, whoever's listening to this, how are you doing? Just pause for a moment, actually answer yourself. How are you doing? How are you feeling? Yeah, some honest answers there.
Yeah, definitely. I think we're all a bit guilty of that. I mean, I can remember times when my friends have gone, like, my friends have gone, oh, how are you? I'm like, yeah, yeah, fine. And I'm like, I'm not actually, but you just say that. It's like an automatic reflex.
Oh, yeah. So yeah, right there with you. My mum, my friends, partners. Oh, how are you doing? And just that big fake smile. Yeah, I'm okay. When in fact, really, I felt so sad and alone or angry. And yeah, we need to start being a lot more honest with our emotions.
Yes, absolutely. So, what would you say motivates you?
What motivates me? I am very aware that I am my biggest motivator and also demotivator as well. So I can motivate myself to do some pretty special stuff, but I also can demotivate myself to do absolutely nothing. And it's trying to find that balance of pushing myself and also being kind to myself, and then not, because I can very much be I can hide away. I'm so good at hiding away and being on my own, but then I'm also very like, oh, I've not seen anybody for a few days. Oh, maybe I should go outside. And so yeah, I am very aware that I am my biggest motivator and my biggest demotivator.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a really fine line between pushing yourself, like you said, that balance between pushing yourself but also knowing when to stop. And I think that balance can sometimes be really hard to locate.
Yes, so that's so true. And don't get me wrong, I can read a book or I can listen to a song and I'll get, oh, those short bursts of motivation. And like when I'm feeling motivated from our conversation right now, I'm full of life. I love that human connection that we're having. But I'm welcoming all that external motivation, but I'm definitely aware that it comes from me. That's the biggest source, so I need to be careful with that.
Yes, definitely. So, what would you say has been your proudest moment so far?
Oh, I knew you were going to ask me this. One of the proudest moments of my life, and I have come up with so many different answers, and it's quite hard to pick one. And I think it changes from day to day or season to season what those proudest moments are. I spent a good chunk of my life believing with that self-talk, that negative self-talk that I had to myself, that nobody would ever find me attractive and nobody ever would fall in love with me. And a few years ago, I went to a Coldplay concert, and do you know the song Yellow?
Hmm.
Yeah. Um, I was with a very special person, and Yellow came on, and she was stood in front of me, and I was cuddling her behind. And during that song, she turned round, and we were face to face, and she sang the lyrics. Your skin and bones turn into something beautiful. I love you so. And I felt that so much. And I am very aware that so many other people love me as well from who I am, my authentic self. And as a child that was rejected at birth, that's been very hard for me. And sometimes I can focus on that rejection. Oh, nobody loves me. I'm constantly getting rejected. But then having those moments of feeling love, that's a to be able to experience that is I'm something very incredibly proud of, that I've got all these beautiful people in my life that genuinely love me. And that's something that I'm just incredibly proud of. And an extension of that is they love me not because I give, and not because I do stupid things, not because I don't set boundaries. They love me or they don't love me because I'm fake. They love me because I'm me. And that I am so proud that I am me and I'm authentically me and people love me. And yeah, that's one of the things that I'm proud of. And I know it's a long-winded answer because I could easily say writing a book is something that I'm proud of, or this job that I'm proud of. And they are things that I'm proud of. But loving myself and people loving me is just something that, yeah, that's the biggest thing that I'm proud of.
Oh, that is that is such a lovely answer. I love that so much. And I think that is such an important thing to be proud of that you don't really think about. You tend to think about or most people tend to think about more of the external things and not really delve deep into the internal things and sort of come up with answers like that.
It's hard, when, yeah, it's hard. 'Cause like I said, when I knew that question was coming, I was like, oh, I could say my book, or oh, I could say this, but yeah, going within. It's hard to go within as well. A bit scary to go within.
It is because you don't really want to think about it, do you? It's a bit of it's a very daunting thing to actually think about, sort of reflect and think about what's going on in your life. You don't really want to do it, but I think it's important.
Yeah, I don't think we're taught to do that because, like, stop being big-headed or stop showing off or stop being selfish. Yeah, we hear that a lot growing up, and yeah, we need to start changing that mindset.
Yeah, 100%. So, do you have any future aspirations?
My future aspirations is to continue to live, to continue to see the world, continues to put myself out there, feel all my emotions, whether they be happy or they're sad, just feel it and just continue to fill my life with adventure. And the more I do that, the more I'm going to attract good stuff, good people, good opportunities, and life is going to be pretty good. So, yeah, they're my future aspirations. And I can say I would love to write another book. I would love to write a children's book. I want to continue doing talks around the world, but yeah, I just want to fill my life with love and adventure.
Yeah, definitely. That sounds brilliant. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It's been absolutely amazing to meet you.
Thank you so much for thinking of me and inviting me onto your podcast, Evie. But before we go, I do actually have one question for you.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah. What do you love about yourself?
Oh, okay. See, that's tricky. I think I think self-love is, like we mentioned, a journey, and I think that I am very much still on that journey, and I find it very, very difficult to come up with things that I love about myself.
Yeah, yeah. And that is really powerful to admit that. And I've definitely been there as well. Sometimes our self-loves start with likes. And sometimes when we can't find them at all, it takes others to give us a little bit of guidance and a little bit of nudge to what our self-loves are. And one of the things that I absolutely love about you is I love your honesty. And I love how you interact with myself in that real, honest, open way. Like some people will say, "Oh, you're an inspiration," and I feel that. But you've shared things with me today about my voice, for example, and there's just so much thought behind that. Like you're a really, really deep thinker, and I've been interviewed by so many people, and you've had some unique questions and thoughts that you've shared with me. So yeah, the one thing that I love and admire about you is your deep thoughts and your unique take on things. So yeah, I would like to add that to your self-love list.
Thank you. God, you know how you said about getting goosebumps earlier? I've just had the same thing. Thank you. I really, really appreciate that.
I keep on working on it. And like I said, sometimes they don't come easy. Sometimes they feel like they're impossible to find. Sometimes they'll start off with likes, but keep on working on it and they will eventually come, I promise.
Yes, definitely. Well, thank you for coming on the podcast, and thank you to my audience for listening, and I will see you all next time.